Hi, I'm CJ Elmer with Transwest Trailer RV in Fredrick, Colorado. We've got a brand new Cimarron 2-horse gooseneck sitting here behind us. Okay, this is the kind of what everybody wants, is a perfect runaround. If you don't necessarily want a bumper pull and you want a gooseneck for a little bit added storage, this is such a great trailer. So before we start walking you through it, let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing. I'll show you some specs on it. What we're looking at is we're looking at a 14.5 foot on the floor. This is 6'10" wide. That is the standard width and standard height, 7'1" tall. It has a 3.5 foot short wall front tack room on it, but we'll walk you through. I want to show you some of the features we put on this, because we didn't just decide to do a 2-horse gooseneck standard options. We went ahead and put some extras on it. It's really not going to come into play too much, but this coupler, we'll start with that. It's a B&W coupler. It's rated for 25,000 pounds. Way more than what this trailer is capable of, but this is what they put on all of them. What I love about this is it has a lot of flexibility for us to adjust this coupler within this stem, because what we want is we want this trailer to run level and equal weight distribution on the 2 axles. This gives us a lot of flexibility depending on what your tow vehicle is. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Underneath the gooseneck, pretty straightforward. This one's got a manual crank jack. What I want you to pay attention to is that spare tire. Okay, this is that standard width, that's 6'10" wide. So if you ever decided that you wanted to upgrade to a hydraulic jack of some sort, it's a bigger footprint compared to the manual crank jack. So normally you might see this spare tire located down low. We like to build ours with it elevated, because if if you ever make that change, we're gonna have to relocate that spare. So we've already relocated. It saves us time and money, right? By having that already done. What you're also gonna get is the framing for an aluminum battery box. So again, if you ever decide to do that, these parts are already done. So it's really easy to install that aluminum battery box with this bracing already there. What we're trying to do is we're trying to save you time and money when it comes to these type of upgrades. So on these goosenecks, a couple things. A Cimarron gooseneck nose is a little bit longer. It's 8'2". A lot of competitors will run a 7'6", 7'8". So we have a little bit more length. Well, what that does is a couple things. It allows us for extra storage up in that nose itself. But if you're running like a long box truck and you drop that tailgate, a lot of times you have to watch on some of those with shorter necks, because that's your tailgate will get kind of right into like your spare. So in this instance, if you drop it with a long box, you still have room to work between the two, the trailer itself and then your truck. And then our gooseneck drop wall. Okay, these makes all these new trucks have taller beds, so it gets to be a little difficult for us to set these trailers up level with bed clearance. Okay, so almost like a little homework project for you is watch newer trucks pulling older trailers, and I'm talking like early 2000s, late 90s. If you ever see any of those, their gooseneck drop wall standard was 47, then it went to 50. Okay, but what you'll see is either that trailer's running level with minimal bed clearance, or they've got it nosed way up to get them bed clearance, but then we're putting most of the weight on the back axle, and that's not what we want. We have those 2 axles, we need them to work together, we need that equal weight distribution. Well, we've made our gooseneck drop wall 53 because the trucks continue to get taller. We want to make sure we can set it up correctly with that equal weight distribution on those 2 axles and bed clearance. So like this trailer right here, with that coupler, with that 53-inch gooseneck drop wall height, maybe you even have a 1/2 ton, or you have a 3/4 ton, maybe you have something with a little bit of a lift on it, you can actually set this trailer up more than likely to run level and, plenty of bed clearance, and that's what we're looking for. So this trailer empty is going to be about 4,200 pounds, just a hair over. So a lot of our newer 1/2 ton pickups will be more than capable of taking this trailer, which is fantastic, again, as a runaround, or maybe it's just your, it's your 2-horse every day and every use purpose trailer, but you've got a lot of flexibility on what you can tow it with. Okay, front tack room. This is the RTG setup, which stands for ready to go. What we've got on the door, we've got a brush tray. You have plenty of room on this big 42-inch wide door. Maybe you want to put a door organizer on there. Maybe you want to add additional brush trays. These are great catch-alls. As you can see, we've got the hose in here for the water tank, but you can throw your brushes, your fly sprays, your hoof picks, you know, anything like that. Just random stuff usually makes their way into that. But you get this nice big 42-inch wide door. We go ahead and we put a fold-up step. We try to put fold-up steps on every single tack room. Doesn't matter. This one's 6'10" wide, so you have a little bit of running board. Your 7.6s have minimal, 8s have none. But we try to put these because it makes it so easy getting in and out of these tack rooms. Whether you're carrying tack, carrying totes, carrying other items, in and out, it makes a big difference, or even just stepping into it. You see where I'm standing in this, you know, lower door frame is. That is a big step. So not saying it cuts it in half, but boy, does it make it a lot easier to transition into the tack room itself. And then what we're gonna get with the RTG package, in this instance, since it's a 2-horse, we went ahead, you have your swing out saddle rack, but we have 2 saddle pads and then 2 blanket bars, okay? If you wanted to add more blanket bars, another saddle rack, you have space on this post to do that. If you want to rearrange, you know, the sequencing, I've seen some people take their blanket bars and put them directly underneath their saddle pads. That, you know, you can actually adjust this and set it up how it works best for you. But it's real simple. You just loosen the nuts, slide them where you want, tighten it back up, and you have it set up where you want. Now, this 42-inch wide door, if you notice with this swung out, I still have a path in and out of here. A lot of competitors will run a little bit narrower door, say like a 36-inch. So you cut 6 inches into this, it makes it pretty tight. But watch this, when I start to bring this in, look at the distance between the door frame and the end of the saddle, or the blanket bars, which are a little bit longer than our saddle pads. But what I love about this is even if we have a big saddle on here, a Western or roping saddle, you narrow this down and you have the potential of your saddles dragging on this door frame. And then even the blanket bars are even longer. So I love the fact that this is a nice big 42-inch wide door. That's what they put on these with a swing out. Again, you can get in and out of the tack room so easy. As we come in, you're gonna have rubber on the floor. We're big fans of rubber on the floor or a gray rubber flooring that they have. We went ahead and put carpet on this boot box. So you have a 12-inch boot box that goes all the way across, kind of like your brush tray. Good catch-all. You can throw a lot of stuff in this. Trying to keep it a little bit more organized in here. You can, if you're hanging out in here, use it as a bench, or it can work as a step to hop up into the gooseneck nose itself. So as you can see, we got a couple windows. Great to see out of, get a cross breeze, natural lighting. The depth of these really allow you, if you want to put like a mattress in here, bedrolls, sleeping bags, you've got, you know, a lot of space up in the actual gooseneck itself. On the short wall, we're gonna have one of these 18-inch deep shelves with a 2-inch lip. There's rubber up there, so it's gonna hold items in place. But that 2-inch lip, you know, you can set items in there, hat cans, boxes, you know, just some miscellaneous stuff that you need to take with you. And then underneath, it's gonna be a clothes bar. So if you're showing off of this, or, you know, you're traveling and you don't need to take up a whole lot of space in the back seat hanging clothes, you've got that. You can hang clothes, you can hang garment bags, about anything in here, maybe big jackets, rain slickers, anything like that. It's good to just have some organization, and you have it with this setup. On the partition wall, we're gonna have a row of bridal hooks. These are aluminum powder coated, so these guys are really strong and stout. I love the height of them and depth off the wall. Cimarron designed these, so we always see it when we see trades. A lot of head stalls, a lot of reins, a lot of halters, I mean, everything, lead ropes, everything's on these, and typically stuff's hanging off, but that's because they're a lot smaller. So they've redesigned these to give us some height and depth off the wall and good spacing in between, and then carpet behind it. So instead of like the aluminum sheet behind it, or maybe our bits will rub against, or our head stalls, and you get that kind of quarter moon just kind of scratched into the paint and the aluminum, you're not going to have that because this is carpeted. It's also going to deaden the noise for the horses on the other side when we're actually driving. And then behind the saddle rack is going to be a 25-gallon water tank. It's just gravity feed. Fill at the top, remember the hose out there, attach it to the bottom, put a ball valve on it, and then you can fill buckets up right outside. I love the ball valve outside, so I don't necessarily have to bring buckets into the tack room. I can fill up right outside. You know, I don't have to go find a hydrant. I don't have to pack buckets from a long distance. I can have water right here at the trailer. And then you're gonna have an LED light right above the door. This is one of their OptiBrite lights, so clear lens, puts out a ton of light, not a big power draw. These are fantastic lights. Light switch is right by the door when you come in, so it's really easy to access. And then the very last thing, kind of like our spare tire, is this is framed for an air conditioner. So our framework is already there. Once again, if you ever wanted to add an air conditioner, you'd have to add a power package, but air conditioners or like a manual crank camper style vent or even a 12-volt vent all have the same footprint. So it's really easy to go in and install those after the fact. I mean, obviously, if we're doing power or 12-volt, you know, there's going to be some add-on items there. But again, those type of pieces are already done. And as you can see how easy it is to flip that up because it's on a gas shock. You're going to have a 16-inch awning light on the top rail up there. So it's going to shoot down and out. So you got really good light coverage out here. Big bus windows. You know, bus windows, only half of them open. So half of that window slides open. So that's why we try to maximize the size of the windows itself. And for comparison, you'll see these are the Cimarrons, and look at this tack door. A lot of competitors will use this on their tail side. So there's a big difference in airflow, just capability by the size of those windows themselves. Got tie rings, you have their lower extrusion to protect it. This one's white sheeted, white standard. If you want to go with black, charcoal metallic, silver metallic, those are kind of the more popular. There's a new one, Caribou, which is like a brown metallic that matches the Ford brown out there. But in this instance, we went with white. Now, axles, we have two 5,200-pound Dexter rubber torsion axles. Electric brakes, so tow vehicle will either have to have an integrated brake controller or an aftermarket. If you need help with that, we can help you there. 16-inch aluminum wheels, that's standard. These are the black with silver accent. I think it works really well with the door frame, or excuse me, the window frames being black, the darker windows, and then obviously the extrusion ties in really well. Goodyear tires, 10 plies. What's cool is you have a 1-year, no questions asked warranty on these tires. So if you catch road debris, you have a blowout, or a nail or a screw punctures the tire and catches that sidewall and it can't be patched, from the date you purchase it, they will cover it 1 year, no questions asked. On the flip side of it, now that's not through Cimarron, but Cimarron's warranty is you're going to have an 8-year structure warranty and a 3-year hardware warranty. So they're really going to stand behind the product for you. Like I mentioned, the aftermarket brake controller, there's a lot of aftermarket parts we can add to these. If you want to add a rear ramp to this trailer, we can do that. Maybe a little hay rack. Again, that hydraulic jack. There's a lot of things that we can still help you with. All right, here at the back, we've got double doors. These are independent doors, but they're a 60-40 setup because it's a standard 6'10" wide. If we go 7'6" or 8 foot, they'll just split them 50-50. But in this instance, the right-hand door is a little bit larger than the left-hand door. So as we're loading and unloading horses, typically we're working off that right-hand side. So if you didn't necessarily want to open up both doors, you can just open up the right-hand door and it's a little bit wider. You have a bus window in the back of that door there, which is great because as wind comes into the trailer, where it's going to be the roof vents that I'll show you, or the drop downs on head side, those bus windows I showed you, air wants to go somewhere. So if we can give it somewhere, it creates just a nice tunnel and a nice flow. Just imagine like a consistent breeze. So that's what you're getting. It'll keep the horses nice and comfortable in it. You're going to have an 8-inch awning light up at the top rail. So just kind of like those 16s on the side, just a little bit smaller, but you have light coverage out here. And then look at those back tail lights. There's a white X in them, and that is a backup light. So when you throw your truck in reverse, those will indicate. And there's 2 more on the side rails behind the doors, or in the rear post there. So you have plenty of light coverage, because you will get home late at night. You'll pull into unfamiliar places where you can't see, don't know what's back there. It's nice to have that light, and you have that. So again, if you wanted to add a rear ramp, we could do that. Remove the rubber bumper, and it'll be a ramp over, so it'll be over the doors themselves. Butt strap goes all the way across, because this is big and open, okay? We upgraded to the stud divider instead of just a partial divider. Now this trailer is tipped towards passenger side right now. but there's a lot of weight to this with it being a stud divider. So Cimarron made double springs. We were doing that on our inventory on the stud dividers, and they just went ahead and made it a standard option, but it's trying to pull this over. If we, you know, put this on flat surface, this will lay probably against the wall. Speaking of, this will lay against the wall, and I can shut the rear doors. We put just a little bit of added length in this back stall, so you could do that. This doesn't need to telescope. It's hard with the stud divider especially, but it's nice. If you want this, maybe create a little bit more of a box stall, you can do that. I know a number of customers want to use these for dual purpose. You know, maybe they're hauling horses, maybe they're hauling mares and foals, maybe they just want to give somebody a box stall, maybe they'll want to haul some toys in it. So with this being able to get against the wall, it makes a big difference. What's great too is, if you're using it for storage, you know, we can throw items in this first stall. Don't have to worry about it getting underneath the horse at the back or flipping it the other way, where you put a horse up front and then you throw maybe some extra feed, some bedding, those type of items back here. I love the stud divider for that aspect. We don't have to worry about items getting underneath horses' feet, you know, while we're traveling. It's a recessed paddle latch against the wall. As you saw, it's a slam latch. So it's really easy to operate, open and close. This is a cast aluminum piece that's powder coated and a heavy UHMW plastic paddle latch itself, so we don't get metal to metal contact, and this guy rattles while we're driving. So if you notice when you're looking at a Cimarron or looking at trailers, just kind of start putting your hands on items. Everything you put your hand on in a Cimarron is smooth. It has a radius. It's recessed into the wall. What we want is horse safety first and foremost, and they've done a great job with it. Kick mat all the way around, and then in each stall you have 3 D-rings. So if you wanted to add a corner feeder, a triangle feeder, we could easily do that, and they just snap in. So there's no real install to them because these pieces are already done and there for you. Okay, 2-way roof vents, one above each horse, so we can force air in, we can release air out. It's good to have airflow in at least options. The roof. Okay, this roof is standard on every single Cimarron. Doesn't matter if it's this 2-horse, a bumper pole, the big LQs you see in the background. They all have the exact same roof. And what's great about it is, it's a 1/2 inch thick. It's a honeycomb design that's reinforced. R3 thermal value, gel coating. Okay, what does all that mean? It means I can walk on this roof and I won't dent it. It'll take 150 pounds per square foot. It'll take substantial hail, so it'll protect your investment versus aluminum sheeted roof. Speaking of aluminum sheeted roofs, this insulated roof will keep the stall area 20% cooler than aluminum sheeted roofs. Okay, so it's gonna keep our horses more comfortable and more cool, especially in those really hot months. And we don't have, again, that metal to metal. It's a lot quieter ride. You don't get that vibration in that aluminum versus the aluminum just creating a lot of noise in here for the horses. So fantastic roof, again, standard on all of these Cimarrons. 2 more of those OptiBrite lights in the stall area. All these load lights and then the stall lights are on individual switches, so I can turn on stall if I want. I can turn on all my load lights or one side, whatever I want. But as you can see, they put off a ton of lighting. We went with rubber mats on the floor, and what's underneath is the industry's best floor. Okay, it is an extruded deck piece, 12 inches, tongue and groove, locks in high and low, but 4-inch centers. Okay, what that means is wherever you have a horse standing, they're standing on a support beam that goes across the floor the entire length. One of those beams, if not 2 of them. So just picture the hoof size and think of 4 inches, they're easily hitting 1 or 2 of those. So this, anytime you build something, you want to start off with a strong foundation. And again, you have the best floor in the industry underneath this rubber mat that we're looking at. All right, I'll shut these rear doors. I'll just show you again in these tail lights. Again, there's some on the rear posts here. Same thing. They've got that backup light already built into them. And right here, all those switches I was telling you about. So all 4 are individual. So driver side, passenger side, rear load, and then also stall area. All right, over here on driver side, Once again, a 16-inch awning light on the top rail. So we have lights on either side, those big ones. As you can see, we've got 2 drop-down feed doors over here with the jail bars. The jail bars can be dropped down. They're just on a track. So really easy to drop down if we want to offer some more feed, water, anything like that. What's nice is they've recently come out. Cimarron they teamed up with Professional Choice, who makes a ton of, just items within the industry. But they've teamed up and they've made window screens for these. And there's no install besides you doing it yourself. So it can be done really quick. We haven't really messed around we'll get it figured out, but it's just a couple minutes. You can slide one of those guys on. It's all military grade Velcro, but it's the same material they use for their fly masks. So they're fantastic. We can get them. You can call our parts department and get them. We'd need the VIN of the trailer, but then we also need to know, we can get with Cimarron if need be, but how many drop windows. If you have an escape door, it's a little bit smaller, but we can get those. So these window screens are available for these as well. Then you get your big feed doors. You also get a bus window within them as well. So again, you can really decide how much airflow you want depending on what time of the year and temperatures. But everything's key to light. So the rear doors, these drop downs, tack door, all one key, which is really nice. These are welded hinges with grease zerks, so they're really strong, but easy to maintain for you. Okay, so a lot of competitors will do a welded hinge, but they don't do the grease zerks. And if you notice, there's a brass rod in the middle here, or a ring, and it's connected to a rod that goes the full length. Imagine a candy cane swirl, okay? There's a groove cut into that brass rod, the full length. So when we put grease to these, we can open and close them and it'll feed grease throughout the entire hinge. So if you get a squeaky hinge, a stiff one, you can go ahead and maintain them, where a lot of the weld, it's really hard to actually get lubricant to get in to the actual hinge itself, lubricate it and kind of free it up and get rid of it. A cat with its tail stuck in the door. They get a little loud. So it's nice to be able to maintain, the trailers themselves on a lot of these type of items. So again, great little runaround, or again, if you just are looking for a 2-horse gooseneck as your go-to trailer, this is a great setup. I'm going to give you this stock number for reference. Again, it's a 2026 Cimarron Norstar 2-horse gooseneck. Stock number is 5N250973. We do take trade-ins, so if you're looking to upgrade or downsize, we can help you there. Delivery is an option, so we could potentially bring this to your doorstep, and financing is available as well. So give us a call. Anybody on the sales team can help you out. That number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.